Welcome to another OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast. My name is Brandon Drum. I'm here with Parker Thune, and obviously, special guest with the coolest background is none other than 2025 four-star safety Marcus Wimberly out of Bauxite, Arkansas. Marcus, welcome to the show again. How you been, man?
Man, living the dream. Just came off of a fantastic OV and just living the dream, like I said.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about it, man. Obviously, I think most everyone is aware of who was there with you, both commits and OU targets. But as far as the experience itself was concerned, what did they treat you guys to over the course of the 48 hours or so that you had in Norman?
Man, it was fantastic. We first got to the hotel, we signed in and everything. We got this big like bag, and I was like, "What is in this bag?" And it was just like full of all the
Money.
snacks. No, we it was just full of all these snacks that we asked for and whatnot, and it was really cool. And then we went to trying to think where we went to dinner the first night. Where Wherever we went, it was really good. We went to Toby Keith's hangar, and it was like his plane hangar and whatnot. They
Mhm.
still had the planes in there, the cars in there. Dude, it was sick. And it was like a steak lobster dinner. It was awesome. And second night, we woke up, ate some breakfast, went through a couple meetings, and man, Soul Mission gets better like every time I hear about it. You know, just the stuff they're doing and the projects they're working on for next year. Obviously they went to where was that? Africa
South
this
Africa.
past,
Yep.
yeah, South Africa, Maui, right?
Yes. And spring break.
Maui,
Yes. Yep.
yeah, yeah. And those projects were awesome. And just to, you know that they really value something past football is so huge, and they stand on that whether you're committed or not. And then we went and ate lunch at the museum there in Oklahoma, and
Hmm.
that was really cool. Then at
Sam Noble.
night, I'm not 100% sure. I didn't.
Is it the one with the
Uh,
dinosaurs?
yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sam Noble. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and then we had the ChampU BBQ. Now this part might have been my favorite part of the whole trip. Now the ChampU BBQ, the food was good and whatnot, but they brought back the player alumni, and they had a ton of just absolute dogs up there, and I got to listen to some of them talking, and man, listening to Roy Williams talk, it lit a fire under me, man. We were eating on the 50-yard line, and I get to looking around the stadium while he's talking, man, looking at the commits and whatnot. And like I football, like that's what I take so serious. So I kind of started getting emotional about it because he started talking about like his brothers and whatnot, and him pushing his brothers to be great, and that team pushing each other the whole time, and all of them. That's all they could talk about, and it was just so awesome to kind of see. Like, obviously, you hear from the coaches and the current players, but like guys that played there 20, 10 years ago, and it's the same way. It's the gold standard through and through, and it's really cool to be able to see that firsthand and hear what they have to say about it, because it definitely fired me up a lot more. You know what I'm saying? And I enjoyed it a lot.
So you said there was alumni players. So can you outside of Roy Williams, we call Superman around here? Who else was there that stood out to you that was like a notable name that OU fans were like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Uh, Teddy Lehman,
Hmm.
um, Tommy. I'm trying to think of his last
Tommy
name.
Harris.
Harris.
Yeah,
Harris.
Tommy
Yep.
Harris. And his story was really good too. He was a dog. Came in as a freshman. I believe he was
He was the
Sports
number one D
Illustrated
tackle.
freshman
Yep.
year. Yeah,
Yep.
and it was, man, that's all I really can remember. And there was another guy there. He had like big dreadlocks and
GK
uh
McCoy.
Gerald
yeah,
McCoy.
yep. He
He's an
he
NFL
was
Hall of Famer, soon to be.
yeah, yeah, dude. He was so passionate about it. Dude started standing up and pacing the stage. He was like, "Y'all wonder why I'm getting up? It's because I love my school, man." And every time somebody mentions Oklahoma, I got to stand up and talk about it because I love my school. And it was awesome, dude. They take so much pride in that. There were several other player alumni there, but those were the few guys that really stuck out to me when they talked and whatnot. But
So
yeah, man.
yeah, so going into the visit, Marcus, there were obviously 14 of Oklahoma's at the time 16 verbal commits that were on the OV, of which you were one. There were also 8 uncommitted guys. One has since committed. We're fully expecting that before long a second is going to commit. So we'll see where that goes. But with those 8 guys that at the beginning of the visit weren't committed, and the 6 that as of right now still aren't. Throughout the visit, throughout the experience, you've obviously been to Oklahoma before. You've seen all that it has to offer. Maybe not everything that you've seen on the that you saw on the official visit, obviously, but you're familiar with your surroundings. You know what they're about. You know what these coaches can do for you from a football standpoint. What's the message that you're trying to impress upon the uncommitted guys throughout the course of the visit?
Yeah, for sure. One thing, man, is like all these dudes want to go to the NFL, and if they don't want to go to the NFL, I don't want them to come to Oklahoma. I'm just being real. But all these dudes, they want to go to the NFL, and that's the number one thing I throw at them because not everybody necessarily thinks the same way I do with faith and everything. But that's the first thing I tell them. Like, if you want to play for a chance to go to the NFL, come to Oklahoma. In the modern era of football, we're the winningest team. So, I mean, it's going to happen. College scouts are going to see you. You're going to come and get developed by the best of the best. And Schmitty is going to turn you into something you never thought you could be. And I haven't experienced Schmitty's workouts, but I hear about them all the time. And sometimes I kind of get nervous about it just still being here in Bauxite. But no, that's the first thing I throw at them. And second thing I throw at them, I try to get them around their parents at this point is not only are they going to develop you like as a fantastic football player and an NFL caliber player, but as a fantastic young man. Like that's Coach V's number one thing is he's going to come in there and he wants to develop young men. Obviously, he wants to develop football players, but essentially, it's like I said last time, man. Football doesn't last forever. You've got to be a father, a husband, a mentor, a coworker. There's a life outside of this football thing, and that's their number one goal is to develop you as a young man on top of taking you to the next level and whatnot. And that's the two big things I throw at them. I know a couple guys may look at NIL money, but I don't pitch that to guys because if you want the NIL money, come in and work and go to the NFL and make money. You know what I'm saying? And so those are my two main things that I pitch to guys.
And you spent a lot of time with some of those uncommitted guys. What was your overall take of just the event? From if you took a step back and like took your committed hat off, what was your overall take of how they viewed the event through I guess, an unrecruited commits perspective? And did you get to spend a lot of time with a lot of the uncommitted guys?
I did. I spent a lot of time with Omarion Robinson, Smith Orogbo. I think that's how you say it.
Yep.
Um, shoot, man. I think I think if I was being recruited and not just a commit, I think any questions that I might have had about the university were answered. They talked about everything that needed to be talked about, and they allowed opportunities to, if you were unsure about something, just sit down and go thoroughly through it. You know what I'm saying? And um, I think there's no question as to like I know some guys wonder what position they're going to play when they're being recruited, or um, am I going to be recruited as hard as the other guy? If I was not a commit, I'm going there and I'm knowing what position I'm playing. You know what I'm saying? Like, because they're going to make sure you know. Another thing, they're going to make sure you know what their plan for you is, and they made it clear. The AD even made it clear today. He made all their plans for us very, very clear, and I think that if if everybody went in there with the right mindset to really find out what OU is about, they came out with no questions asked and OU is going to be their home. You know what I'm saying?
Now, last we had you on this podcast, Marcus, it was a couple months back. You had just become commit number 11 for Oklahoma. Well, as of today, they're now up to 17. What do you think about the way that this class is coming together as a whole, especially with some of the recent additions, splash ones at that, like a Trent Wilson on the defensive line or a Malik Hawkins in the secondary at cornerback, or the newest one of all, Manny Choice at the wide receiver position?
Man, it's fantastic. You know, a lot of times it starts with recruiting. You know, I'm nowadays you can obviously pull through the portal, but you're not going to pull the whole class through a portal. You know what I'm saying? And it really does start with recruiting because one, that's where you get your guys that you're going to plan on playing them in the future. But at the same time, that's how those guys, the commits, you know, they start to build that bond, that family feel. And like us commits, we're constantly texting the group chat. I got guys checking up on me, Kamori Moore, Elijah Thomas, Malik Hawkins, Ryan Fogier. You know, I got those guys checking up on me and I'm checking up on them as well. So we're already building that brotherhood so that when we get there, we're already tight. You know what I'm saying? And that throughout the OV, it didn't really feel like we were just football commits. It kind of felt like we were family, and I think that's huge. You know, because a lot of last year you saw 24s committing in November and December and whatnot. But when you look at it, man, that's not a lot of time to build a brotherhood. These guys, since we're building the class early and we're building it with top tier talent. I mean, we're all putting a brotherhood together that's ready to go win a national championship.
And that brotherhood that you talk about, is there anybody in specifically that you've actually grown close to, like super, super close to, that like you feel like you're going to be a roommate with whenever you arrive to campus?
Man, that's a tough one. I'm really close with Elijah Thomas. We shoot, me and him are on Call of Duty every day. He's calling me, checking up on me, telling me about 7-on-7s. I'm telling him about workouts and whatnot. But if we ever happen to land Omarion Robinson, shoot, we've been talking for a while now and kind of building a relationship together. And it'd be awesome to land him, but if not, I'd probably have to rock with Elijah Thomas. You know what I'm saying?
You like that? Is it the I guess he's not from Arkansas, but he's as close to Arkansas as you can get outside of being from like
Right,
Sallisaw or something in the state of
right,
Oklahoma.
for
Is
sure.
that kind of the relationship that you guys have built because of that?
Well, no, it just kind of happened, kind of I guess just through talking to each other. I guess
Yeah.
we shoot, we're on Call of Duty all the time, and Call of Duty can get heated a little bit sometimes. So
Yeah, you've had a long weekend, Marcus. We don't want to take too much of your time, but I got one more question to fire at you, and I think it's something in which the fan base will take a lot of interest. The OV is done; it's behind you. You got the summer to kind of kick back, gear up for your senior year at Bauxite. But looking ahead to the 2024 season, how often can Sooner fans expect to see Marcus Wimberly and Norman on a game day?
oh, I'm 100% going to try to make every home game. Obviously, there will be a couple big games that my little brother will have, Pee Wee, and so I'll try to make them. But y'all can probably expect to see me at every home game, and I'll even try to make the Texas game this year as well.
Hmm.
Oh, hello.
So, so I expect to be in Norman a lot, be around the coaches, be around the players, just be at home. You know what I'm saying?
So I guess what's the one home game? I guess my last question. What's the one home game you're looking most forward to? I guess I'll have a two-part. Um, could there be more good news coming for OU fans that you can kind of hint about? Just say yes, no, maybe, that type of
I
deal.
I can definitely say there is some more good news coming.
There you go.
I could definitely say that. Um, shoot, I don't know. Uh do we play Auburn at home this year?
No,
No,
it's
in
at
Auburn.
Auburn. Mhm.
Dang. Well, I'm gonna be 100% honest. I don't know the schedule on a detailed
They got
level.
Tennessee at home. They have uh They go to Ole Miss. They got Tennessee, Alabama, and South Carolina are the 3 SEC home games, right, Parker?
That is correct.
Yep. Along with
Oh yeah,
Texas, but that doesn't really count. So
yeah. I want to see us take on Bama.
there you
There you go.
Freaking whoop Bama's tail.
go.
He wants all the smoke, baby.
He wants all the smoke. He's
wants
not on
all
the
the
team yet,
smoke.
but he wants all the smoke. For
That's
you
right.
guys on the team, he just called you all out. You all better win. You better win.
That's right.
All right. Well, we appreciate you, Marcus. Obviously, this is a 2025 4-star safety commit out of Bauxite, Arkansas. Marcus Wimberly just was at the ChampU BBQ this weekend with all the commits and 8 uncommitted targets that Oklahoma is strongly after. Thank you so much for joining us, man.
I appreciate you guys.
This episode of the OU Insider Under the Visor podcast is brought to you by our friends at Manscaped. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to announce that Smooth Sack Summer is officially upon us. When you're playing in the summer sun, make sure you're properly groomed with Manscaped. The Manscaped Performance Package 5.0 Ultra has everything you need to prepare that summer bod. Every man knows how scary it can get when going for a close shave below the belt. That's why we trust Manscaped for all our sensitive areas. Inside this package, you're going to find the star of the show, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, which is equipped with dual LED spotlights to provide contrast on multiple skin tones, as well as 3 length-setting combs. And, oh, did I mention this trimmer is waterproof, too? And now that you have the perfect haircut, use Manscaped's liquid formulations to keep that freshness even at the hottest summer barbecues. The Crop Soother Aftershave Lotion and Crop Preserver Anti-Chafe Ball Deodorant, and Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 5.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Now you can get 20% off all this and so many other Manscaped products, as well as free shipping when you use code OUinsider at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code OUinsider at manscaped.com. It's Smooth Sack Summer, boys. Get on board or get left behind.
Again, thank you so much to Marcus Wimberly, 4-star safety out of Bauxite, Arkansas, committed to Oklahoma. He is one of OU's, I would say, lead recruiters in the class because he is probably one of the most personable people you'll meet, and he just seems to relate to everybody. Very cool interview, very cool background of what went on at the ChampU BBQ. Parker, I guess let's dive into it. Got a lot of uncommitted talk we got to do here. It'd be probably a little vague because if you're not on OU Insider VIP right now, it's the time. Because right now, if you sign up, it ends on the 24th at, I believe, 11:30 p.m. Okay, so if you're listening to this on Monday, it's the last day. You get a chance to sign up. You get OU Insider for free. FREE, free through the first week of fall camp. Fall camp starts, I think was it August 4th, 5th, something like that this year. It may be a little earlier since they play on August 31st. So, but you'll get probably the first 7-10 days of fall camp all the way to August 10th. So now to August 10th, essentially a month and a half, almost 2 months, you will get for free OU Insider VIP, get all the Party in the Palace. You'll get the Sooners on the Stars, SEC Media Day. July is going to be commit month. Always commit month for Oklahoma. They like that. All these kids like to have a lot of their stuff locked in and locked down. Oklahoma has about 7 or 8 spots left. Actually about 6 spots left now that to have committed. 6, 7 spots. And the month of July could be a very, very fun month. We will keep you abreast and on top of all that if you're on OU Insider VIP. Plus, a lot of summer workout talk and information. Who's standing out? Who's making moves? All that type of stuff as far as youngsters. So right now, ChampU BBQ 24 is a promo code to use to get OU Insider for free all the way through August 10th.
Let's talk about what's public then. Let's start with what we have no qualms about discussing on an open
Correct.
forum. I remember back at the beginning of May, I got a text message from a source whose word is as good as gold that said, Emmanuel Choice is all but done to the University of Oklahoma. And I said, okay, we're going to plug this future cast. Been toying with it for a while. Went ahead, put the prediction in. And there had just kind of been a steady confidence around the Switzer Center that Choice was going to take all his visits. He was going to go through the process, and then he was going to commit to Oklahoma at the ChampU BBQ. And lo and behold, Brandon, that is exactly what happened.
Yep.
Absolutely love this addition for Oklahoma. Another huge pickup for Emmett Jones, wide receiver number 4 in the class for him. He joins Elijah Thomas, Grayson Harris, and of course, Marcus Harris, who committed the previous weekend.
Yep.
And this is one kid, Brandon, and even before the OV weekend, once Quincy Porter was off the board, I was asked flat out by a few members, "Hey, who do you like the best out of the remaining wide receivers that OU could realistically land in Choice, Cortez Mills, and Andrew Marsh?" And I said, "Look, I think Mills and Marsh are fantastic players. They have obviously been highly productive. My
Mm-hmm.
favorite of the three, though, is Manny Choice, just because of how tall he is, how
His
long he
frame.
is. He's not you don't see many guys at that size that move the way that Manny Choice does. I think he's criminally underrated right now as a 3-star prospect. I think his stock is going to soar. And I think he's going to have a very successful collegiate career at the University of Oklahoma. This was an absolute nails eval by Emmett Jones, too, because he was the first to offer this kid. And I remember
Yeah.
going down to Lancaster to talk to Manny not 2 days after he got the offer from Oklahoma. And shoot, Brandon, there weren't even really any other college coaches that were talking to him at that point
Mm-hmm.
when Emmett Jones pulled the trigger. He saw something, man. And what he saw, Emmett's eyes did not deceive him because I guess we're recording this on the day that Manny Choice committed. Sunday, June 23rd. At that time, Brandon, he had 34 FBS scholarship offers.
Yeah.
34.
And Emmett even tweeted out, remember who offered you first and saw you and believed in you first. And I think that rang true with Manny Choice, right? He's a guy that I think both you and I feel is a 4-star. And we felt that way long before this became OU's to lose. He's just he's got strong hands, uh, runs solid routes, fast for a guy of his stature, very fluid in space for a guy of his stature. And he knows how to high point the ball. He's not going to be out physical for the ball. And I think he's even physical when it comes to run blocking. So there's a lot to like about Manny Choice and obviously the pickup that Emmett Jones got. And like you said, just added to the assortment of talent that Emmett Jones has already accumulated, not just in 2025, but in 24. The last 2 cycles, Emmett Jones has done a fantastic job building up that wide receiver room. There's not much more you can say about him. There's not a lot of superlatives that you can throw Emmett Jones's way that are gonna, you know, that you haven't already said. But yeah, and again, he's still got one more piece on the board that he could go out and land, and we're gonna
He
obviously see,
does.
yeah, Cortez Mills this week at Rivals 5-star camp. Really excited about that. If they pull that off, or Emmett pulls that off, that might be the best wide receiver haul in the nation, like cumulatively, like as far as talent goes. Then you have uh, Texas commit, defensive tackle commit Brandon Brown that showed up. Don't want to dive in too deep into those woods. We got some information over there on OU Insider VIP, but it's interesting.
It
It's an
is.
interesting dynamic that is going on with that one.
And
Go ahead.
a couple other defensive linemen with whom the Sooners made waves this weekend in the ChampU BBQ. Obviously, we kind of went in with the expectation that, hey, CJ Nixon's going to be a Sooner, right? Like that
Yeah.
was that was where the smart money lay as to
Yep.
who the next public commit for Oklahoma would be. Manny Choice beat him to the punch, but there's a lot of confidence that CJ Nixon will be coming down the chute here before long. The other one at that edge position is Max Granville. And man, what a job Miguel Chavis has done
Yeah.
playing the
Fantastic.
long game in that recruitment, because there was a time last fall where there was some confidence that Oklahoma was well positioned for Max Granville, and at the time they were, but the looming threat was always A&M. And spring rolled around, and boom, here comes A&M, making a big surge, taking the lead, putting themselves in prime position for Max Granville. They got him to campus for the spring game when he was supposed to be in Norman.
Yep.
Official visit season rolls around, and USC makes a charge, and then Penn State makes a charge. But the feeling is it's still A&M. It's A&M until it's not. Well, he gets to Oklahoma for his final official visit, Brandon, and all of a sudden, it's not A&M anymore.
No.
Now, OU's not out of the woods here
No.
because Penn State is still a heavy consideration, but the future casts have begun to flip from A&M to Oklahoma, including mine. And there is a confidence right now in Norman that the Sooners will end up adding one of the most gifted and dexterous edge rushers in the entire country to the fold.
Did we not talk about this last week and came on this exact podcast and the live and said, and I believe I said, things have gotten really interesting with Oklahoma and Max Granville before he showed up, where you and I had discussions on the podcast where I talked to a source. What was it, last Tuesday? Or no, yeah, it was last Tuesday. And I said, look, I think he's going to go to A&M. And that person looked me square in the eye and said, it's Penn State or Oklahoma. And I said, ¿por qué? Like, I just didn't, I couldn't grasp that because of everything we've heard. He goes, look, the source goes, look, you got to get past the friendship, right? Everything that everybody has glued him to A&M for, and we're talking about 4-star defensive end Max Granville. What if you're Penn State, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, and or USC, right? And those are the four that have been just named. The programs have been over and over and over and over linked to Max Granville. Which two makes sense out of those if you know Max Granville, Parker?
Well, on paper, I think the answer would be Oklahoma and Penn State.
Correct. Just culturally, right? Like, and there's not a knock on USC and Texas A&M culture. It's just Penn State and Oklahoma's culture with Franklin and Venables have similar, I guess, ways of doing things, right? Like, so if you were to equate, and then you have USC who has their own way of doing things and A&M who has their own way, it didn't really make sense, right? Like, it made sense location, right? Logistically, it makes sense with A&M. Friendships, relationships, A&M makes a lot of sense. But does a long-term fit make sense? And that was the big question with Granville, right?
So
This whole time.
I was having an interesting conversation prior to the OV weekend with a similarly good source. I think that it raised an interesting point, which I think bears repeating here. Is A&M a good cultural fit for anyone? Like that, A&M's whole thing is that their culture is weird, right? And they kind of own it. They're okay with it. They embrace it.
Mm-hmm.
But
you got to be a little weird to go.
Yeah,
there.
well, you got to look past the culture if you're going to commit to Texas A&M. So,
yep.
I mean, hey, it's just interesting how things have completely turned on their head because 3 months ago, maybe 4 months ago, you just said, yeah, Jonah Williams is coming to Oklahoma. Max Granville's going to Texas A&M, and flip flop. Now it's
Would
Granville.
You have said that 4 months ago with Granville? Because there's a lot of people that thought it was A&M 4 or 5 months ago. Or Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma. Did they not?
I'll be honest, Brandon. I've said this before. I did not buy Oklahoma for Granville until 24 hours ago.
Yeah, because you and I had debates on.
I thought that felt like
I can vouch. He and I debated on it. Whenever I brought it up to him, I made the call to him directly after my conversation. He goes, "Dude, I'm not really buying that."
Yeah, because that just felt like there are certain recruitments where you feel like, okay, but it's going to be A&M in the end, and that's what that one kind of felt like. to me. But lo and behold, Miguel Chavis has worked a little magic.
Again.
And you land Nixon, you land Cade Petchak, you land Max Granville, you add those three to Alex Shield Knight, maybe you tack on a fifth. We'll see with Smith or Rogbo.
You
Man,
got a lot on OU inside of you.
Chavis is giving Emmett a run for his money at that point.
Yep. It's a pretty good haul at defensive end. And then because I mean, you could lose three, right? You Woolard.
You will lose three.
You will lose minimum Woolard, Downs, and then obviously Trace Ford. So yeah, I mean, you probably had to take 3 to 5, right? If you're him, just because you're probably going to lose somebody out of the portal, and you're
and
realistically probably going to lose 4 at minimum, right?
And here's what's interesting about both Nixon and Shield Knight is they don't have to play defense. Yes, that's where they're committed to play right now at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Shield Knight had power 4 offers as a tight end. Nixon, he's a basketball guy. Man, how many 6'5" basketball guys have had success at the collegiate and even the professional level at the tight end position? So just because you take 5 defensive ends doesn't mean you're rostering those 5 at defensive end a year or two down the line.
And Shield Knight, not only did he work out at defensive end at OU camp, he stayed and worked out at tight end as well. So OU's well aware of what he could potentially be down the line. The other Petchak, I want to talk about him for a second, just because he isn't necessarily, pinned in, maybe penciled in at defensive end, but he's not pinned in. There's no permanent ink. There's no Sharpie that's going to say he's a defensive end because of his frame being 6'5", 250 pounds already. So he's got the frame to be a massively big, flexible defensive tackle / defensive end, more in the line of, he has a similar body structure and frame of Jalen Redmond out of high school. And so he was bigger than Jalen Redmond. Jalen Redmond was only like 235, 240 when he came out. But frame-wise, you kind of knew that Redmond was eventually going to grow and slide inside, and that's what he did. And he became very, very good at that. But he was also still quick enough that when you needed to have a passing down, you could slide him inside and bring a faster edge, but run, you could bring him out and play the 5, the 4-eye, even 7 a little bit and have a bigger body guy in there for run support. So Petchak's an interesting target for Oklahoma once he does announce where he's going.
And we have the expectation that that's going to be Oklahoma.
Yep.
Right. He just got done with his official visit at Kansas State. That'll be the last of the 4 for him, but there is every belief that OU is going to be the landing spot for Petchak. So, yeah, 5 defensive ends is on the table right now for Oklahoma. And here's what's wild about that, Brandon. Like, to take this conversation a little broader, we had anticipated and we had reported at the time, at the beginning of the calendar year, hey, this is probably going to be a smaller class for Oklahoma. 22 to 24, or I think at one point it was even 20 to 22 was what we were hearing.
Yeah.
Here's what I legitimately think, Brandon. I don't think the staff anticipated that they would recruit this well. Not to say that like they aren't ambitious or they don't believe that they can't sell Oklahoma to anybody, but things get in the way, right? And NIL gets in the way. Proximity gets in the way for some of these kids. And so to have the success that they have had, even before official visit season rolled around, to have 15 guys on board as verbal commits, I don't know whether they went into the year with the expectation that they were going to be in line to sign as many legit blue chip, like that's a dude type football players as they have across the board at all positions. And so, I mean, you kind of see it in the defensive end situation right now, where if you have Cade Petchak on board and you have CJ Nixon on board and you add Max Granville, okay, that's 4 defensive ends. Are you really going to say no to Smith or Rugbo? Like, I think there are some of these guys that Oklahoma just wasn't anticipating having to say no to.
Right.
or having to think about saying no to because they figured, okay, attrition will take care of some of this for us.
Yeah.
There'll be other schools that drop enormous sums of money or that win a kid's heart on the OV. Like, surely we're not going to have this high of a batting average with our top targets. And yet, with the guys that they have had in for official visits, Brandon, they have either landed the kids in a few cases so far or put themselves in extremely good position to land them down the line. I mean, can you think of any absolute no's? Guys that Oklahoma has hosted on OVs that aren't coming to Oklahoma. Desan Brame, okay, there's one. Elijah Melendez reaffirmed that he's sticking
Go
it
to
out with
Miami.
Miami, but I talked to some folks down in Florida. They're like, yeah, we'll see. So even that one might not be over. But the point is, in years past, we're used to seeing some guys come to Norman and not really give Oklahoma a second thought after their OV. We're used to Oklahoma OV and some kids that you kind of even know going into the visit, okay, they're like, that's not a kid that's going to wind up in their class. But Oklahoma has done a remarkable job in the 2025 cycle of putting themselves in ideal position with some of the best football recruits in the country at a multiplicity of positions.
And I'll say this. I talked to a source today and they were like, look, we can't not take some guys. Like OU's not in the position of just taking to take at this juncture. So if Oklahoma's taking them, they're taking their dudes because of NIL, because of the transfer portal. They are going to take more than normal or more than expected 9 times out of 10, they said, because you never know what's going to happen in the middle of the season or right after the season as far as attrition goes and people hitting the portal. So if you have a chance to land a guy that you consider to be that guy or a dude, and they call them dudes, you gotta do it. And that's where OU's at. There, you got a chance, bring him in, and then from that point on, you just sit there and you go, okay, we'll see where the chips fall as far as numbers go. And if you got to process, you got to process. Them's the way the chips fall nowadays, and them's the rules because you're getting paid like an adult. And once you start getting paid, you get treated like an adult. You're expendable. So if you don't produce, bye. And no, that's not really how BV wants to operate with his culture, but it's hands are kind of forced because his job's on the line, right? Like their jobs are on the line. They've got to win.
Well,
the roster's got to look good.
If you want some further context for the fact that I suppose the narrative, and maybe it's not a fact indisputably, but the narrative, and I think it's a strong one, that Oklahoma has leveled up in terms of recruiting. Obviously, recruiting rankings are not the end all be all. Acquisition of 5 stars is not the end all be all. You make your own evaluations. You pick the guys that make sense for you. But even for the folks that have wanted to scream 3-star you about Oklahoma for the last 2 cycles, how many 3 stars have they OV'd? Have they even OV'd this month, Brandon? Because they have 13 of their 17 commits that are 4 stars. The only ones that aren't, the only ones that are 3 stars right now are Kamari Moore, Marcus James, Owen Hollenbeck, and Manny Choice. Manny Choice ain't no 3-star.
Nope.
And Marcus James, Kamari Moore, and Owen Hollenbeck, they're all going to have a case for blue chip status as well. But think about the uncommitted 3 stars that they are actively pursuing.
Brandon Brown's
a 4-star, but
is he? I thought he was a 3-star.
No, it's like it's literally Mark Ihenichor and Cade Petchak. And again, Cade Petchak is one of those guys where you look at the film and it's very, very clear that ain't no 3-star.
Yeah.
So right now, it is pretty much all blue chippers.
Yep.
Oklahoma's actively recruiting, and not only actively recruiting, not only pursuing, but
in a good spot for
very strong position with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this has been interesting. It's been that way this would be the third cycle in Venables where you look at it and you go, the roster they are building is formidable. And you know, we just talked to somebody earlier, recorded a podcast earlier that would be released later on down the line. I don't want to give it away just yet. And they've talked about the talent, right? They talked about what Venables is doing. And people across SEC Nation, across college football they're paying attention. When you're almost guaranteed to have another top 7 class at this juncture, unless things just completely fall apart for Oklahoma. How, what can you do? You're going to be in the top half of the SEC, top quarter of the SEC in recruiting, and you probably would have been the last 2 cycles as well prior to this. You start to catch people looking over at Oklahoma and going, "Oh, the coaching staff does what they're supposed to do." There should be a lot of wins going on here in Norman, and so um, the evaluations by the staff, the evaluations by the support staff, the recruiting by everybody as a whole in Norman. Everybody needs to give them a hand for it, and even the collective, right? And which is a whole other conversation. Something that if you're wondering where NIL is headed with Oklahoma, you need to go over to OU Insider VIP. Again, it's free right now if you sign up all the way through the first week of fall camp. It ends on the 24th of June at 11:30 p.m. So ChampU BBQ 24, CHAMPU barbecue BBQ 24, CHAMPU BBQ 24. That's the promo code. You go over there right now. You get all that information free because there is some interesting NIL stuff that's going on with Oklahoma as well.
Yeah.
As far as announcements and all that type of stuff. So, just a little tease there. It is all encompassing right now. It's all encompassing, and things are trending quite nicely, and not just for football, but for softball. Softball is doing a really good job, and the transfer portal. We all expected that to take place. So again, that's all covered over there on OU Insider VIP. Before we get off here, obviously Monday, we're releasing this on Monday. If you're listening to this in the morning or prior to 3 p.m., there's an announcement that's going to be made, and that is 2026 Rivals 100 potential future 5-star quarterback Jaden O'Neal is going to announce. I believe between Oklahoma, Miami, what was the other two? You remember the other two? He had 4 he put out
Ohio
there.
State, Florida
Ohio
State, and
State,
Washington.
Florida State, Washington, the 5. That's right. Um, we still like. I got a prediction in for Oklahoma. I still like
Everybody's got a
Oklahoma.
prediction in for Oklahoma.
I don't think it's a secret.
Everybody picking Oklahoma.
Everybody's picking Oklahoma here. But man, what a get! What a get if that's really what goes down. If he chooses, Jane O'Neal chooses Oklahoma, Parker. I don't think it's going to be too far or outlandish to say that by the Sooners Under the Stars or post the Sooners Under the Stars or by September 1st, Oklahoma might have 3 or 4 other guys that pop in right behind him just because they want to go play with one of the top players in the country. You think that's last year during the season they had what 5 or 6 kids already committed in 25? That I think that's not outlandish to think.
And this doesn't really answer your question, but this is kind of what awes me about the whole Jaden O'Neal situation as we sit here on the verge of his commitment, which we fully expect will be a commitment to Oklahoma. Is Seth Luttrell, man, he's a first-year offensive coordinator at the University of Oklahoma, and he had a very good, very talented, very capable quarterback in his lap in Darion Coleman. And he said, okay, but you know what? I'm going to see if I can see if I can really shoot the moon here.
He
He
did.
had Darion Coleman if he wanted him. And Seth Luttrell said, no, we're going to aim a little higher.
Yep.
And did so
Crazy.
successfully.
Yeah. I mean, he's doing what he. If it again, if it goes how we expect it to go, we expect Shane O'Neill to be a Sooner. We'll see. We'll know at this time. If you're watching this, you'll know at 4 p.m. on a Monday if he chose Oklahoma or not. Now, I will say this. Um, Jayden O'Neill not being in the top 50, I think is a travesty. Number one. Anybody that's watched him throw it, anybody that looks at that body, his body type, anybody that's watched his film can see that he may be. I don't know that he's the number one quarterback in the country, but he's up there, top 2 or 3. Parker, and that's not. I would have said that if it wasn't Oklahoma. All I had to do was lay eyes on him one time, and I was like, "Holy crap, Parker! That's a different breed right there." And that's what I mean. He has that personality, right? He's got the personality where you look at, and these other kids are going to follow. I think that's really interesting. Um, I was talking to him while I was in Norman, and he said, "Look, wherever I go, I got a short list of guys, and I'm going to go after them. I want them playing with me wherever I go." And so it kind of again, who's it reminds you of? It kind of reminds me of Caleb Williams. He has a plan. They always had a plan. It seems like everything that O'Neill does is very thought out, very strategic, and very planned. And so if you're an Oklahoma fan and it ends up working in your favor Monday afternoon when he announces, I'd be doing backflips because there is a decent chance that with OU's NIL structure, you're able to pull in not just one of the best quarterbacks in the country, but you may be able to pull in another huge class. I think the player for me to watch, if I was going to pick one guy in 26 to watch, who do you think it would be? Like real quick to follow suit.
Hayden
It should be.
Jones.
Who? Oh, well,
Hayden
yes.
Jones.
That is one of his top that he had on his list.
Yep.
And they became very, very tight while they were in Norman because they both visited at the same time. But no, there's another one. Come on,
Surprise
man.
me.
Mason James. Talking to people while he was in Norman the other day, it almost feels like what's the word I'm looking for here? It almost feels like a formality at this point, and things are just
Yeah,
kind
look,
of.
it's felt that way. I mean, I
It's
put in a
felt that way for a long
FutureCast.
time, but it
I put in a
really felt that
FutureCast the
way.
day he got the offer, man. That's another kid where you look at it now and it's just, and I know he's in Emmett Jones' backyard,
Yeah,
but the fact that Emmett Jones is out actively evaling and correctly identifying high level talent
yeah.
before anybody else has offered him, it's a testament to what a superb coach and recruiter and evaluator that Emmett Jones is, because Mason James is so freaking good, man. That is another guy. He's a 3-star right now for us at Rivals. If that kid ends up a top
Rolled your
100,
eyes.
if that kid ends up a top 100 player in the
Not
nation,
shocking.
I will not be surprised at all. He is wondrously talented. I mean, the complete package.
Yeah.
He's got good size. He's 6 feet tall. Runs amazing routes, so quick in and out of breaks, strong hands. He's fast. He's everything you look for, man. To me, he is the best wide receiver that I've seen in the state of Oklahoma since Talon Chetron. And he's got 2 years of high school ball left. He may eclipse
There's one in
Talon.
25 that may take very much offense to that.
No, I understand that. I
And he
understand
is
that. I
ranked in
haven't
the top
seen as much of
75.
Elijah Thomas. I haven't seen as much of
Like, he's a
Elijah
freak.
Thomas as I have of Mason James.
Fair enough.
And that may be why I'm partial to Mason. But even so, like, I think he has an astronomically high ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
And if Oklahoma locks him down, you pair him up with Jaden O'Neal, that is scary, man.
Yeah.
That, and then you throw Jonathan Hatton into the picture. If those are the 3 OG commits for Oklahoma in the 26 cycle, boy, you can't draw
Yeah.
it up much better than that.
And who did you say was your? Oh, well, I think the OG. I think the other one would probably be Caden, right?
Yeah, man. He calls Oklahoma we every
Yeah.
time I talk to him.
Well, he grew up
Again,
around
like
them. His dad played for him.
he's a legacy. He has said time and again he's going to go through the process. He's going to evaluate his options. It's just really hard to imagine that kid doesn't wind up a Sooner, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, very much so. And then you on the Emmett Jones evaluation, I want to put this in perspective for people. So there is a 2028 wide receiver in the state of Oklahoma. And I know that sounds crazy to talk about, right? 2028, right? Kid's just going to be a freshman. His dad is on staff at Oklahoma State. He goes to OU's camp. And his name is David Thomas. He plays it. He will be a freshman at Stillwater this year. He ran it in 11. No, he ran a 10-9. Excuse me, a 10-9 100 meter as a 14-year-old. And for those that don't understand how fast that is, an 18-year-old that is really, really fast usually runs between a 10-5 and a 10-4. So in 4 years, if he's not running the 10-2s, I'll be shocked. Like, he's that fast. And just a baby, right? Just a baby, 2028. He goes to Oklahoma, and Oklahoma invited him down. OSU is so scared with his dad being on staff that OU was going to be the first to offer him that they went ahead and offered him. And so did Arkansas. Just bam, bam, real quick, because they did not want OU to be the first to throw it out there because of the optics of his dad being on staff. But what OU did, I mean, Jones didn't offer him, invited him back for a second time. His dad comes down, they watch, and his dad, give credit to him, said his job is over here. David's recruitment is over here. Like, they're two separate things. David's going to get to do what David wants to do. And I talked to David, and he said, I want to play in the SEC. Like, that's why I keep coming down to Oklahoma. Now, Oklahoma hasn't offered him yet. But I did talk to a source that told me after the first 2 or 3 games of the season, if he is what everybody thinks he's going to be, that offer's coming. And it's coming quickly.
Yeah.
He will be a top 100 player in 2028 nationally. Like, you saw him, Parker. He is unbelievable. Between him and Mason James, it was a treat to watch that wide receiver core go at it, that final high school camp. So, there is a lot of talent in the state for Emmett Jones to poach from, and we're just scratching the surface. I mean, look at what Todd Bates. He's got a lot of talent. Obviously, he's got Overton, right, and he's got Taj Overton in the 2026 class, and then 2027 you got Joseph Graves, right, out of Booker T. And I want to ask you this because I think before we close this out, something I've been talking. Think about when Brent Venables showed up. Prior to BV showing up, outside of the 2028 class, as far as defensive lineman goes in the state of Oklahoma, it had been bone dry outside of like 1 here, 2 here, every 2 years or so, right? You had Ethan Downs that came through. Who were some other names prior to 2022 in the state of Oklahoma? But that shows you how bare it was, right? I guess. Well, he was part of the 2018 class. There wasn't a lot though, but it wasn't like an every year deal that you had a big time DN or D tackle, right? BV prior to BV leaving OU from 99 to 2011, the state of Oklahoma produced a lot of top tier defensive linemen. If you go back and you look at all those teams, there's always a couple of Oklahomans on those defensive fronts. BV shows up at the end of the 22 cycle. Look what's happened. Every year, 2 or 3. It's crazy how that changed, right? Particularly in 2024. Way different, right? David Stones, Davian Sims, Damian Okoye, Colton Yarbrough. There was like a bunch of, I went through and I named like 10 on the board the other day in 3 years. You couldn't name 10 outside of that 2018 class for like a decade in the state of Oklahoma that was producing D-line wise. Isn't that wild? But when BV was there originally, they did. It's almost like divine intervention as far as when Britt Venables is there coaching the defense and when he's not. The state of Oklahoma produces. I just thought that was interesting that, the state of Oklahoma is starting to produce. Every year there's a top tier, top 150 kid. And Joseph Graves, Parker, would you be shocked if he's in the top 50 talk in the 2027 class?
I wouldn't go that far yet.
You don't think so?
No. He's good. Don't get me wrong. He's good.
Top 100.
I'll say top 150. Top
Okay.
150 for now.
Okay.
Want to see him
still
develop
elite.
a little bit more.
That's still elite.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a great
he's a
basketball
blue
player
chipper.
for people. Yes. For nobody that has never seen him, but he quit basketball. But he was an amazing basketball player. Really good feet. Now he's one of the top wrestlers, and he plays golf on the side just as a side thing. So just a name to file away 2027 to offer defensive tackle in the state of Oklahoma. They're starting to do that. Joseph Graves out of Booker T. Washington, another school that produces, is a little dry right now outside of Graves, but produces. I believe they got another defensive line transfer in the 26 class, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 27. I want to say it was the kid, his brother played for Kansas State. Wayne. You know what I'm talking about? Safety for Kansas State.
Wayne Jones?
Wayne Jones, yep. So I think it's Dwayne Jones is the kid's name, right? No? Maybe I'm wrong here.
I don't know.
But he was at Owasso, started as a freshman at Owasso, now he's at Booker T. So he went to Collinsville, and then all of a sudden he's at Booker T now. So another name to file away as far as defensive tackles go in the state of Oklahoma. Anyways, all right, Parker, if you're not on OU Insider, what should they do?
Well,
I'll let you do
folks,
it.
especially if the calendar has not yet made the turn from June 24th to the 25th on the East Coast, at least. What you're going to want to do is use promo code at ChampU BBQ 24 to sign up at ouinsider.com. You sign up with that promo code before the end of the day or 11:59 p.m. Eastern time on Monday, June 24th. You're going to get free access all the way until fall camp. So if you're too late, guess what? Still not a huge chunk out of your wallet. It's $9.95 a month if you want to grab a monthly subscription, or you can pay $100 and get the whole year. But if you are fortunate enough to be listening to this podcast on June 24th, before 11:59 p.m. Eastern time, you can still take advantage of our promo and use promo code ChampU BBQ 24 to get free access until fall camp.
There you go. Also, if you're not subscribed to this YouTube channel, this is the time to do it. We've got a lot of really cool content for you guys coming up. Make sure you subscribe right here. Just hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell. We're going to have podcasts every day. We're going to have OU content every day, whether it's baseball, basketball, softball, football, recruiting. It is all OU all the time right here in college sports, right here on OU Insider YouTube. We'd love to have you guys subscribe to it. It's free and you get content your beloved OU Sooners content, college football, college sports content right here. Subscribe to OU Insider YouTube channel. All right. That's going to do it for this version of the OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast. For Parker Thune, my name is Brandon Drum. You guys have a blessed night.